So it's been a little while since I did a stock market portfolio update, so no time like the present. Let's jump into my portfolio and see how current things are standing, and then also my plan for the rest of the year. So if you haven't seen one of these videos from me before, I basically use Trading212 as my main stock market portfolio, and in here I currently have a balance of €32,536. If we go to our all-time, just to take a step back, you can see we have a 25,000 return, which equates to 150%. And if we just look at the last 3 months, even just to get an idea here, you can see around September we were sitting around 27k, and we've had a great bounce since then, as I said, up around that 32k. At one point even reaching as high as 35,000, and that was literally just 3 days ago. A little bit further of a breakdown, obviously most of this is in stocks, just 127 in cash currently, waiting to be put in, and that'll probably be gone in the next week or so. I generally do wait for a bit of a red day, and you can see down here in this quick view that it's pretty much a red day now, so I might actually end up investing it a little bit later today. And then a breakdown of where the money goes within here. So I have a growth fund, which I'll click into a second, and then I have a Tesla stock fund, and literally in this fund is literally just Tesla stock. The reason I have it in here is, I always mention this on every video, but people ask, so I might as well say, anytime I want to add in maybe a short position and I don't want to add new money to the portfolio, I sometimes add it in there and then can basically just rebalance, remove that money around into that new stock. So that's basically why I have it there, but 90% of the time, if not 99% of the time, it's just Tesla stock in that pie. And then moving on to the growth fund, so obviously most of the money here in the growth fund, and then we can check what the holdings are within this. So you can see that we have Tesla as a big part of this pie as well, around 34% at the minute, but I generally have that set to a 30% weighting. Next biggest then we have Nvidia at 10%, Palantier at 10%, and then the rest are pretty much 5%, 3M, American Express, Archer Aviation, CRISPR, all that kind of stuff, good stuff in there. Now I will focus specifically on the 3 biggest stocks in my portfolio today, just to give a bit of an update where they're at, obviously because they are at least double the weighting of the other ones. But I will also touch on Archer Aviation today as well, because it is the only stock currently in my portfolio that is currently down in its position, currently down 24%, around €250 loss on that at the moment, unrealized of course. And also this is one of the newest additions to the stock market portfolio, so I definitely want to take a little bit more time to talk a little bit about that, and maybe get your guys' thoughts on that stock in the comment section as well. So again, just taking a look at the top couple of stocks here. So we have Tesla stock is currently around 53% of my portfolio. Then next up we have Palantir coming in at 6.9%. And then we have Nvidia at 6.55% of the overall portfolio. And you can see they're doing quite well, up 82% or 83%, 516% on Palantir and 104% on Nvidia. So glad that the bigger stocks in my portfolio have had a good return to date. So let's go through a couple of updates for my 3 biggest stocks, just to give you guys an idea of where they are currently if you haven't been following them, and then maybe my thoughts on where I think they're going in the next couple of months, if not a longer time frame. So starting off with Tesla, let's jump into some updates there. It's been a pretty big week for Tesla, if not just Elon Musk himself, in relation to his compensation package. So yesterday the compensation package was voted on and approved by shareholders, and that could potentially be up to $1 trillion in value in terms of stock options for Elon Musk if he does achieve the ambitious goals set out in the compensation package. This includes things like delivering 20 million cars and deploying 1 million robo-taxis in the next 10 years. So definitely very ambitious, but to be honest, he's done some crazy things before in terms of rolling these things out in ambitious timelines, and it's definitely worked in his favor. So I think this is a win-win for Tesla shareholders and of course Elon Musk, because if he does achieve this, the stock should see some really good gains, and it'll be a great thing for the Tesla company as a whole over the next couple of years. And then obviously he'll be handsomely rewarded if he does manage to achieve these lofty goals. The company is also positioned really well, with Q3 of this year reporting $4 billion in free cash flow. So it's in a really strong position right now to take advantage of where they're going with AI and robotics, in terms of the full self-driving of course, and the Optimus robot, not to mention the robo-taxis being rolled out as well. So it's an exciting time to be a part of the stock. Obviously people still think it's overvalued, etc., but I've heard that for the last number of years, not necessarily disagreeing, but that hasn't stopped the stock from rising. So again, for me, it's my biggest position. I really like the stock. And as always, a good reminder to make sure you do your own research when it comes to investing in any of these stocks. Make sure you do have that level of conviction. As with any stock, it can be volatile, and you really need to be sure that you know a lot about the stock and you're confident in it to be able to basically outlast all the peaks and the troughs that come along. But definitely for me, it's one that I'll be continuing to keep buying in my portfolio. It's a stock I really like, been buying it for the last number of years, and I think it has a very exciting future with the likes of the Optimus bot, robo-taxis, etc. I think they're positioned really well. I think when they do things, they make sure they do them right and in a scalable way, and I can see them surpassing Waymo very, very quickly in terms of the robo-taxi space. So next up then, Palantir. So again, this had a really strong Q3 earnings, where it beat estimates by around 8%. Despite that though, in the last last month it is down around the 4% mark, and it hasn't been a good week for Palantir in terms of, I guess, media, because the guy from The Big Short, Michael Burry, who predicted the basically housing crash, he is currently shorting Palantir stock, and it makes up a large portion of his portfolio, his short on the company. I'll actually put a graphic on screen here which actually shows Michael Burry's portfolio at the moment, and you can see 66% of that is a put option against Palantir, so basically hoping that the stock price will go down, and in that case then he will make money. And he also has Nvidia in there as well, because he believes there's a big AI bubble at the moment, and that's around 13.5% of his portfolio. Betting on the downside, of course, so it's a put option. So again, like Palantir, if it goes down, he makes money in that sense. So I guess at the moment, he obviously has been renowned for the money that he made and prediction of the housing crash, but he's been known to be wrong in the past as well. Personally, it's not something I'm worried about. I'm a long-term investor. Very well, we may be in some sort of AI bubble. There's not really any way of knowing. It's not like I'm going completely all in on any of these stocks or anything like that. I'm continuing to buy over time with a long-term horizon, and that is my goal and always will be my goal when it comes to investing, which luckily with that kind of mindset allows me to kind of forget a lot of the short-term noise. And if there is dips, it's kind of an opportunity for myself to maybe add some more money to those positions, as long as I do have the conviction in them. So we'll continue adding to Palantir, I think, over time as part of that growth fund for me. I can definitely see some volatility coming in the next couple of months. As I said, we may be in an AI bubble, who really knows? But as I said, happy to continue to add to that position for the long term. And then we have Nvidia. This has become the first company to reach a 5 trillion market cap, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And of course, this kind of valuation is probably what's leading maybe Michael Burry to short these companies, just seeing as they're absolutely, I can't even think of the word, stratospheric, the amount of money that these companies are fetching the valuation for. But of course, the AI chip demand is there. Obviously, a lot of future value is baked in with these as well. But I think AI is the future, the chips are the future, and Nvidia is definitely very, I would say, if not best positioned, in my opinion, to be able to kind of continue and take advantage of that. And now let's quickly touch on Archer Aviation. As I said, this is one I've recently added into the portfolio. It is one that Kathy Wood from ARK Invest is a big fan of. And for me, I do know that it's a future play. I'm not expecting to see any kind of returns on this in the short term. And if there is, I won't necessarily be cashing in on those. If you haven't heard of Archer Aviation before, they're basically in the vertical takeoff and landing business, and they're in the UAM market, which is urban air mobility market. So basically think Uber, except kind of like helicopters. So basically they're like a plane slash helicopter. So they're called Midnight eVTOLs, and they're basically a vertical takeoff and landing. I'll try to put an image on screen here so you can see. They're still in early stages yet, but I think it's a really exciting company, and I think it has a lot of potential for future growth. Nothing that I'm anyway going all in on. They're a small percentage of the portfolio, but just one that I'd like to have in there for the potential future growth on it. They recently purchased Hawthorne Airport in the US to act as their base, so I think that's a good investment there, around 120 million or so that they've put in there. And that will basically serve as its LA hub for the air taxi network that they plan to launch. So definitely could see even potential more downside in the stock over the next year. But again, it's a bit of a long shot, but it's an exciting one for me to keep an eye on. And over the next maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe hopefully we'll start to see some sort of positive return over that one. And in the meantime, I'll just continue to slowly add to it just as part of that growth fund. So anyway, that's going to cover it for this video, guys. That's my stock market portfolio at the minute. We'll be really interested to see what you guys are looking at right now. Just let me know in the comment section below. Anything exciting or that you're keeping your eye on, or even recently added to your portfolio. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in another video.